Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg here with none other than the man, the myth, the 4.5-foot legend, the king himself, Karl Bryan.
How you doing? How you on, Road Dogg? What's happening? You doing good?
Well, what's happening is I was reading through your jokes this week, and I'm not going to lie, folks. I do not need hate mail from Mothers Against Drunk Driving, so I'm going to go ahead and omit the joke from Karl's drunk aunt. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to just slide along from that one. But what's going on with you, bud? What is happening in the legendary life of KB?
What is happening? Not much. Holidays here. Trying to timestamp these bad boys, but there's snow outside and the holidays are here. My sciatic nerve, as you know, Road Dogg, my sciatic nerve is getting better. I have had a bugger of a time for 6 weeks with this bugger. But anyway, so I think it's going to be good. It's feeling much better today. Overdoing it maybe with the crazy amount of stretching I'm doing and whatnot. But anyways, doing good, man. Doing good.
Well, it's interesting because when your wife refers to her sciatic nerve, she actually just calls it Karl. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like you are her pain in the ass. So that's good. That's good. And I'm glad you guys are working through that stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's cold as all can be. This is the coldest I've seen it here locally where we are in the 5 years I've lived here. Holy smokes, dude. Like this is insane. Yeah, so it's time to get on an old aeroplane and get out of Dodge, as they say. But yeah, next level. And if it's one thing I know, you are not designed for the cold.
No, I am not. Sunshine, baby. That's all right, though. That's all right. We will pound through, see what the future holds.
Well, this is it. You know, like if it's one thing I know about you and your neighborhood with private helicopter pads and everything else that your neighbors had, like was the limousine warmed up before you got into it on your way to school, or how did that work?
Yeah, right. You wish. You wish.
No, I don't. I'm sure that you did growing up, because that would have been like Baller 101 rather than Karl rolling up on his BMX bike wearing a rad t-shirt.
Yeah, it was much more like that. But anyways.
All right, let me. First off, you mentioned it's the holidays. I love this one. Mary, exhausted, having just gotten Jesus to sleep, is approached by a young man who thinks to himself, you know what this girl needs right now is a drum solo. I love that one. That's so good. That little drummer boy. I swear, like how Joseph didn't beat him down and be like, listen, we just got this kid to sleep. My God. My 23-year-old stepdaughter brought her boyfriend over for a Christmas gathering. I asked him to stand at the end of the picture so I can crop him out when she dumps him. Oh, dude. Oh,
you love that one, Shoots. That's right up.
You know what? The sad part is pretty true. But my favorite one was when you said I got a fancy new sports watch after taking the time to read up about it. I can comfortably tell you none of the scenarios in which I would require a watch that works 200 meters underwater are situations in which my watch still working would be a primary concern.
Listen, you go.
This is true, because the only time that you're going to be 200 meters is when your seat as a seat cushion as a floating device isn't working. That's pretty much the way I view that. But anywho, hey, listen, it's the holidays, and I am just wondering. Oh my God, I can't. So I'm going to apologize, folks, because we all know Rabbit Hole, Mr. Rabbit Hole himself. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to ask you just randomly something that, interesting in that super crazy mind of yours that you've been thinking about over the holidays? Because there's a lot of different news out there and a lot of things going on. And when Karl isn't working 24/7, I don't know what goes through his mind besides World Juniors hockey. But give me something interesting that's been going through your mind.
Give me that's the question. Just a random question?
Yeah, just give me something random. Let's just just random city. This is how we're operating right now. Like, no one's giving 100% over the holidays.
I got to start listening to what you're asking me. Okay, what would I say here? What am I thinking? Well, I'll tell you. So as I sit here, as you know, I got Post-it notes all over my computer. One of them, which I spend an inordinate amount of time. Is that a word? So basically got 5 words on it: friction, integration, decentralized, utility, and data. And so these are things that I'm, as we scale and that sort of thing. So maybe I'd look friction, thinking about friction. So a lot of companies like HubSpot, as an example, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. They don't have a salesperson, right? So like Facebook, again, it's frictionless. The experience in Facebook is ridiculously frictionless. So think of no human beings as friction. Think of human beings as friction, and then no human beings as frictionless. So with our software, actually another, what is Bezos says that raving fans don't send support tickets, right? So like bottom line is that trying to find ways to make it so that our software is totally frictionless and a great user experience, right? So that's friction. Integration. The reason that word's on there is just thinking of different ways. Like if you think about your iPhone, the weather, Gmail, your stocks, whatever, the apps are into each of the apps are integrated into your phone. So it's a great user experience. Or imagine you were playing a video game, you're racing cars, and you wanted to get turbo for your car. If you needed to phone a 1-800 line in order to pay and to get, XYZ, you know what I mean? The turbo in your car, that would be ridiculous. Integration is that you click a button, the payment processor is built into it. You click a button, they got your credit card, bingo, bango, bongo, boom, you pay. So think integration. So just different ways that we can integrate. We want our software to be integrated. So we think of something new and I go, how do I integrate this? Decentralized. We've talked about this in the past. You're trying to build a big company. Decentralizing it will be important. The metaphor, the example I'll give you is the casino. Back in the day, the casino would have one set of books, right? So it's got the casino, the restaurant, the retail store, the gift shop, it's got all these different stores and whatnot. And they would all be like, at the end of the month, they would do the books, and then they would know the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and then they have a look at the revenues, right? Well, decentralized is basically that the restaurant has a set of books and a manager. The retail store has a manager and a set of books. And the gift shop has a manager and a set of books. So it's totally decentralized, right? So as a business coach, if you were selling social media, you might want to think about decentralizing your social media aspect of your business. The same way that when you go to a car lot's a good one. You go to the car lot and then they sell you the car and then they have a service department and they make a lot more money through the service department than they do through selling the cars, right? So that's decentralized, and that's the reason that's there. Very important if you want to build a big company. Utility, that word to me, it's just, the Facebook is Facebook because it's utility. It is so freaking good. It's unbelievable. Like if you set up like a group on it, the functionality for the group is just next level. It's not ideal because they own your database and then they can sell advertising to all your people and they can change the rules. So that component of it is far from ideal, but the utility of Facebook is just lights out. So the better that profit acceleration software works, the better. Why I created group coaching software was utility, in that I wanted profit acceleration was going to find somebody $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising. Well, now the business owner needs to do something, right? Well, so the group coaching component perfectly marries up with profit acceleration software, right? And then data just, in fact, I literally had a call this morning with one of our clients. He's a heavyweight does like $200,000 coaching programs, and he's been using our software. And then what he's doing is he's exporting the data that he's collecting from his clients. He's importing it into artificial intelligence, into I can't remember the name, Neo something or other, but some funky artificial intelligence software to find patterns in the words that they're using, in the numbers that they've got, the industries that they're in, the cities that they're in, the state that they're in, seasonality. Again, things are going to be different in winter than they are in summer, etc. So anyway, so those Road Dog, those words, those are top of mind. Actually, you know what? Maybe just one last one here. What am I thinking about? The law of triviality. I've been going really deep on this kind of thing. Like what I do, I read a book, okay, and then I write about it as a way to teach myself, and then I always try to implement as much as I can, because that's the highest level of learning, right? Actually implementing. But I'll if you read my daily emails, I'll read a book, and then what I'm doing is I'm paraphrasing the things that I've learned from the book, right? Good, bad, and different. That's my process. So, if you want to know like why so many businesses fail and why governments seem to be ridiculously ineffective and the money that they waste is literally insane, the law of triviality is a huge reason why. So it's common to give a disproportionate amount of importance, okay, to a trivial issue at the expense of something more complex. In layman's terms, you're going to do something easy before you're going to do something hard, right? And especially, not only at the expense of something more complex, but something more important, right? So the government will avoid bottleneck traffic issues, right, and bringing in civil engineers that are totally stopping the city from growing and creating all kinds of bottlenecks and whatnot. Or they'll another issue is public transport. Okay, they'll avoid that, but instead they spend an inordinate amount of time on planting flowers at the local park or building a bike path, right? Or the local school spends an insane amount of time on the school yearbook and then totally disregard updating the curriculum, which is probably outdated at best, right? Premise. So you go, okay, what did I just say? Spend time on solving problems, right? The yearbook and the bike path are not a problem. The curriculum and the traffic issues are problems, but they're significantly more complex, right? So, like, similarly, and why I'm thinking about it and what it means for my software, like the business coach and the business owner will spend, as a relationship, business coach and business owner, they spend an incredible amount of time solving specific client issues rather than the real and important issues. Like, think like, what problem could you solve that would make the other problems redundant, or a number of problems redundant, right? Solve that problem. So you got to go to, solving problems, and, it's hard, it's worth it. But, in a nutshell, the law of triviality, I think that's costing a lot of business owners, and it's a lot of client coach relationships, Road Dog. It's costing them success because they're spending all this time on the cool, sexy thing, and they're not going to, again, more complex solving problems. So I don't know, Road Dog, that's I could probably go on, but maybe but the friction integration, decentralized, utility, and data are definitely things that are very top of mind for me right now, and will be over that. And the post-it note has pride of place right there, so I can't really look at my computer without seeing it, and that's what I'm doing. Shoots. What do you think?
Well, so I got a question for you, because speaking of top of mind, for me, what's top of mind was the Twitter exchange between Elon Musk and Elizabeth Warren. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Right. So
Remind me. I saw it. What was the deal?
Oh, it was like her basically saying that he's a freeloader and not, he should
I wrote about it on Facebook. How does she not get canceled for that? Like, how can she call Elon Musk a freeloader? Like, how can she publicly do that?
But it's pretty incredible, right? Considering he's paying the most amount of tax that any individual.
$21 billion. $21 billion. Gosh.
Oh man, but it got me thinking, because you've talked about this before, and just when it comes to tax, like, because you hear about this, right? So again, it's a perfect example. Well, he should be paying more. Well, okay. So how do companies pay little to no tax ethically? Like, you've talked about that before, haven't you? Like, can you walk us down that a
Oh
little bit?
yeah, nice little segue there, Shoots. So look, before I talk about this, I would encourage you, like, what's this saying? I always say this, right? Old money equals never sell. So thinking about that as an overarching strategy, like the number one tax in your life, my life, everybody's life is going to be tax, and it's by a lot, right? So if you live in California, um, it's going to be significantly higher than if you live elsewhere, right? And most people will think that the number one tax is mortgages and housing, right? So as a framework, look, you pay tax when you sell, right? So if you don't sell, in other words, you follow, we've talked about this semi to death, but I can't begin to tell you how if you want to be wealthy for a long time, you don't want to be rich for a week, you want to be rich for the rest of for your lifetime. Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, list them, right? Don't pay tax because, they basically accumulate wealth they never sell, right? So it's over a significant period of time. It takes patience, and nobody wants to do it. But look, when lowering your tax, but let's not talk about Warren Buffett and Ray Dalio, right? A little bit high level for our local chiropractor. So, like, when lowering your tax position, I would encourage everybody to be thinking about 1,000 small cuts kind of thing, as opposed to like one magic bullet. Think of a lot of little strategies, right? And maybe a place to start. I wrote an article some time ago now. I'm just writing a new email sequence for something I'm doing. But anyway, so it's one of them. If you Google my name, Karl Bryan, how Google pays zero tax, you'll see something that you might find interesting. Because again, I'll tell you that, like how like they did $13 billion of revenue, and then they paid zero tax at Amazon, right? And if that's not a high enough level of insanity for you, they get 120 something $1 million in that year as a rebate from the government. So like a refund from the government after doing $13 billion of revenue and paying no tax, right? And then that same year, they had $13 billion of revenue. They had losses of I can't remember, but 600 million, I'm going to say, but like hundreds and hundreds of millions, right? So they do it. And it's really, so you think to yourself, how, why, like, how does this work, right? So it's a feedback loop. And this is not just for Amazon, but it's Apple, it's Ferrari, it's Rolex, it's the biggest companies in the world. They use this. And this is why they're the biggest companies in the world, because they're the most profitable and they can afford to spend, the most on R&D, et cetera, right? So here's what they do. Number one, so if you want to pay very little tax, and you're Amazon, what do? They spend money on research and development, right? So Amazon spent, I don't know what it is, but 10, $20 billion that year creating and testing new products and services, right? So research and development is number one. Number two, property, plant, and equipment, right? So it's what they do is they fed back about 50 billion here, investing in their own infrastructure, in their own land, and their own machinery, et cetera. So their own property, plant, and equipment, they fed money back. And here's the kicker. Stock-based compensation, right? Rather than pay in cash, they pay their staff bonuses in shares and stock options, right? And it's therefore they write off the shares as a business expense. And then here's the kicker. The higher the stock goes, in this instance, Amazon or whatever company you want to use, the higher Amazon stock price goes, the more they can write off as an expense. You talk about wealth hacks on freaking steroids. Like Amazon saved over $1 billion in tax that year. And the lesson is that Bezos fed operations rather than his own pocket, right? But again, we're not Amazon and we're not dealing with Amazon. We got the local chiropractor, right? So how does the local chiropractor go from 100,000 to 250,000, right? Well, like in wealth and ultimately, success. Well, here's the problem. They get that bump in pay, right? So let's say they have $75,000 of profit this year, and then they have $150,000 of profit the following year. What does the business owner do? What does the chiropractor do? he buys a boat and starts flying first class to feed his ego, right? He wonders why he's not getting anywhere with amazing capital allocation strategy like that. So earn 100 and live on 60, earn 200 and live on 80, right? And then you have 120 when you make it 200, and you're living on 80, you have 120 to feed back into the system, right? And then what would an effective capital allocation strategy in that instance look like? Buy staff. How many people do you meet, Road Dog, where it's like they don't have enough leads? And then you say, well, how many people do you have on the phone? How many people do you got sending private messages? How many people do you have knocking on doors? How many people do you have running Facebook ad campaigns? And the answer is none, none, and none, right? So like buy staff. Instead of buying Bitcoin, spend $50,000 in 12 months for a staff member to do what you tell them to do and watch what happens. You'll take 50 and turn it into, if you're the worst operator in the world, you'll take 50 and turn it into 100. And by the way, if you take 50 and it's not working, at the 6-month mark, you've lit $25,000 on fire and fire them. But if you know what you're doing and you have a growing business and you're solving problems, that will never happen. This won't happen, right? But buy a staff member, buy some advertising, build new products, create new services, join groups like what we've got, right? And, pay monthly fees. But here's the problem, right? Is that the first shot, like the first staff member might not work, right? The first ad campaign might not work. The new product, it's not as popular as they thought it would have been, and then they see it as failure, right? The number of times that I've personally swung and missed in that instance, you got no idea. But again, Amazon brought out the Fire Phone. Facebook is known for just, screwing new projects up, but they're okay with it. So is Google. It's like not everything is designed to work, and you get better, right? So you don't stop R&D because something flops, because something doesn't work. And remember, like you're remembered in life for what you refuse to give up on. Think about that, right? So anyways, so Road Dog, there's some little wins there. But thinking about it as 1,000 cuts as opposed to like one massive drop the mic strategy. That's important as a framework.
Got it. And again, I love this topic, especially, we've made it clear, like this is the end of the year. There's going to be a lot of people looking to do some, tax planning or whatever. So like, aside from that, like, are there any other tips for business owners looking to save some tax? Maybe not the big corporate type stuff, but
Yeah.
that coaches can take to their clients.
Yeah, get more granular. Look, don't forget get more granular, but don't remember it's always where am I at? Like what's the little red arrow, right? You are here, and then what do you want? And then trying to get there. Old money equals never sell. So thinking about that, and not everybody's going to be in a position to be able to do that. But if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? But all the greats bought and held as opposed to bought and sold. Like 98% of the population buy and sell. And in fact, they don't even buy and sell. They buy high and then sell low, right? Like, and okay, where do you live? If you live in California versus Florida, I said that earlier, you're going to be paying significantly more tax in California than you are Florida. And then I think you'll be less again in Texas, right? So thinking about where you live, and you want to be doing some research on the states, in some cases, the price of property, et cetera. But you can live, significantly less expensive. Even thinking is significantly less expensive. Like we were just in Mexico not long ago. Like what about the country you live in, right? It's not always possible to be able to pick up and move, but to live in Mexico on pesos and earn US dollars, you got a rock star lifestyle for pennies on the dollar. It's very smart and more possible than people might realize, right? They make it bigger than it is. You could always turn around and come back, right? Like, here's like, okay, so getting granular. You make money when you buy, not when you sell, right? So if you buy a piece of real estate, so let's say that you're going to buy an office building or something along those lines, right? Or a house for $500,000. Like it's worth that, but you get it for 350 grand, maybe because you're a cash buyer, or something they don't know, that a boom is coming. You know how to rezone that piece of property, and then they're not willing to go stand in line at the local city and fill out the paperwork. Paperwork is very profitable, by the way. Think about that, guys. Or, you buy a baseball card. We got a mutual bud, Road Dog, one of my best buds, Mike. And he does baseball cards. Like when he can get a baseball card for 500 and it's worth 5,000, right? Because they don't, know, they don't care, they just want to get it out of the basement, right? Or maybe you buy an older muscle car for 30 grand and it's really worth 40 and continues to appreciate over time. Okay, here's the kicker: you pay tax on what you buy it for rather than what it's really worth. Don't minimize the importance of what I just said. You pay tax on what you buy it for rather than what it's worth, right? So if you buy something worth 1,000 and you get it worth for 333, you tripled your money as soon as you take possession, and you only pay tax on 333, right? So moral of that is that rich people spend time learning to buy well, learning how to negotiate at a high level, and super importantly, recognize undervalued assets. I mean, Warren Buffett, that is, if you just took Warren Buffett's learnings and teachings and put it in 3 words, recognize undervalued assets, is really what he does. But we say it, and I think that people hear, recognize undervalued asset, and it feels like it's above them. Maybe, I don't know, above, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like something that they're in the business of doing, and you absolutely are, right? And by the way, those assets appreciate over time. Well, when something goes from 1,000 to 2,000, you don't pay tax on the appreciation. You now have an asset worth 1,000, and you could borrow money off of that appreciation tax-free, right? Provided it appreciates faster than the interest you'd pay on the money, you're getting free money. So an example, right? You buy a house for 350,000 and it's now worth 450,000. You either bought it really, really well because you knew something they didn't know, or you bought right at the beginning. The great time to buy real estate is during a boom, because you buy something worth 350,000, it could be worth 450,000 in less than 6 months, right? Or just over time. Maybe you held on to it for 5 years, 10 years, right? Well, you go to the bank and you can borrow money tax-free against the $100,000 capital gains or the equity, right? So you bought it for 350 and it's worth 450. There's a $100,000 gap there of equity. You can go to the bank and borrow that $100,000 tax-free. So what most people do is they sell the house, the $350,000 house, or I guess it's worth, confuse everybody. You bought it for 350, it's worth 450. They sell it for 450 to get their money out. Well, why sell it, right? The rich, remember, old money equals never sell. Go to the bank, get it reappraised, and you can pull the majority of that $100,000 out as a loan and then not pay tax, right? Or, buy a piece of real estate like an office and then here's a hack, add a bathroom and a bedroom always, right? You add, or an office, whatever, like instead of a bedroom, it would be an office. I don't know, office room, an office, right? But always do that with real estate. You add a bedroom and a bathroom. You go back to the bank, get it reappraised immediately, and at a minimum, you'll get your deposit back, right? Probably tax-free, by the way. Bottom line, if your client buys a product for 100 that's actually worth 200, they instantly doubled their money, but pay no tax on the increase. They only pay tax on the value exchanged, we'll say, right? And importantly, if understanding the importance of loans here, they're tax-free money. And again, most business owners, most families, they're just going, and trying to make as much money as possible. They're not thinking about how to manage money. They're not thinking about, looking at undervalued assets. They're not going to like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about going to garage sales all the time. This is part of why, right? So anyways, actually here's you talk about going granular here. Most people probably haven't heard of what's called the Augusta Rule. And it's something you might want to have a look. You just go to your accountant and ask him. But basically, you can rent your house out for 14 days a year without claiming it as income. Okay? So you can legally use your house. Like, what are you going to use it for? Like you're going to have meetings, or you're going to record a podcast, you're going to record some videos, you're going to get your clients together, right? So and you got to make sure this is at fair market value, but you can rent it out to your house, to your business for say $2,000 a day. And then you'd write yourself a check for, to $28,000, boom, tax-free personally. And it's a deduction for your business, right? So And by the way, you charge 5K, but you got to be fair market value. Otherwise you're going to get pulled up. So again, speak to your accountant, but 5 grand would be a $70,000 check to yourself, right? And a write off for your company. So, and if you have a smaller house, it might be $500 a day, which again would be 7 grand, I guess. 1,000, is going to be 14,000. Ask your accountant; they'll be able to guide you. But that what I just said could make you and could make your coaching clients just provide an insane write-off that you've been totally ignoring. And then the question is, why is your accountant not telling you this stuff, right? And because your accountants are not in the they're in in a lot of ways, a bad accountant works for the government and charges you. That's what I want you to think of, right? So anyway, so thinking about that, the Augusta Rule, you can just look it up and speak to your accountant. Here's maybe one more. You go granular. Employee of the month. McDonald's has employee of the month. And guess what? Road Dog, you can, I can, and everybody listening can, and all your coaching clients can. But don't go, the mistake people make is they forget and then they buy 12 things in December, and you know what I mean? You got to be a little bit, you want to be smart about this stuff. And it also has to be a fair number according to your revenues. So go buy a $30,000 car as employee of the month when you got $500,000, of gross revenues with your business, right? Think things like maybe fridge, dishwasher on the bigger side, maybe a washing machine, and then think, a blender and, things worth hundreds of dollars, right? But do it, but buy one in January, one in February, one in March. And again, not tax advice and not an accountant. Don't pretend to be. So just go and ask your local accountant. But I can tell you that these things, can save you an insane. Remember, everybody's trying to work out how to make a little bit more. Like, mom signs up for the MLM and sells lingerie in the kitchen. Why? To make the family an extra $10,000. Well, understanding this and they have an the MLM mom tends to live in an entrepreneurial kind of family, right? So instead of selling lingerie in the kitchen, do this stuff, spend some time here. Speaking of mom, here's one little, look, here's another one, right? Go to your personal expenses and where do you spend a lot? And my hesitation is in that this one, just be a little bit careful here, but you absolutely get this past the gatekeeper. So let's say you spend a lot of money on beer, you spend a lot of money on red wine, you spend a lot of money eating out, you spend a lot of money on vacations, right? So you go and buy Road Dogs Vacation Reviews.com, and then you buy Road Dogs Dining Out Reviews.com. And what do we say? Road Dogs Beer Review. You'd be good at that. .com. And then what you do is you set up a review website, and every time you go on vacation, you write a review on it. Okay. And by the way, get somebody in the Philippines to do it for you, because it's not really all that important that it's all that accurate. And then when your client, say, pays you $1,000, take 900 and put it into your bank account, and then take 100 and make it, and then take their logo and put it on your review website and call it advertising. And now they're paying you $100 of that 1,000 towards advertising for your website, right? And then and then you do it for beer, and you do it for wine, and you do it for eating out, and you just saved yourself a whole lot of tax. And you did it by going straight to your credit card statements and seeing where you're spending the most money, your clients are spending the most money, and building websites in and around that. But again, not accounting or tax advice. Speak to your accountant, see what they think. And by the way, sometimes, so somebody I know is listening to this going, oh my gosh, this is the greatest tax hack of all time. This is the greatest idea ever. One of the things I'd be thinking about is the money that this is going to save you in tax, right? Like the 20 to 30%. Would that time and energy be better spent building a new product, expanding your existing, babysitting a high-end client? You know what I mean? Like you've only got so much focus, and they say, success is yes, or growth is yes, and success is no. Do you want a big company or do you want a stupidly profitable company? So just thinking about that. So that is another thing, and this kind of stuff that I covered in my Accounting 101 for Business Coaches book. So there you go, Road Dog. There's some tax hacks. What do you think of those?
Well, I find it interesting that your default MLM is selling lingerie in the kitchen. Like there's a lot of shakes and exercise, and the one that you pull out is lingerie in the kitchen. Oh man, that's a beautiful thing, bud. Like that is something else. Okay, well there you are, folks. But it is such an important topic, right? Like
Yeah.
people aren't, I guess, just the smartest when it comes to where they're allocating their cash. Now, speaking of another investment, because we actually have a question came in, um, and I know exactly what you're going to say here. But the question was, I'm a semi-established coach thinking of getting an MBA. Guess I don't know the answer, but do you think it'll lend credibility? Well, I know what it will do. It'll give you a write-off, and that's probably, my opinion, the only thing you're going to get out of that. But what do you say about that?
Did they actually write that? Guessing I know the answer. Did they write that?
Yes, guessing I know the answer. Dude, we are pretty ruthless when it comes to designations and all this other stuff. So I'm pretty sure that, yeah, we're as transparent as you get in our beliefs and our strongholds on that.
There we go. Agreed. Yeah. Look, Rhoda. Look, you're
Hang
right.
on,
Like,
was that your attempt at like a Scottish accent there? Was that did I just catch that?
you notice the voice isn't so good today, is it? What's going on here? Anyways, all right. So look, Road Dog, wrong question. You got to be thinking like, what is the goal? Again, MBAs are often working for minimum wage. Um, people don't pay for what you know; they pay for what you do, right? So there's, in doing an MBA, PhD, sometimes what you do is you like when you put doc. I've said this for a long time. If you put Doctor, it's Doctor Dave Smith on your website, one of the most important things you can do is build rapport. People buy off people they like, and people like themselves. So when they go to your website and they see Dr. Dave Smith, they immediately go, this guy's or this gal, if it's, Susie Smith, is super smart. And it worked for him or her, but they've got a PhD, are 3 times as intelligent as I will ever be. So it works for them. It doesn't work for me. So if you ever seen a professional speaker, think of a Tony Robbins, one of the first things that he'll do is tear himself down, right? Brings himself down as opposed to up, right? Um, so, so by doing so, by sometimes, you're doing the MBA, because a lot of the time what we're doing is we're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put MBA in my signature, and it's going to get me, all kinds of miles from my consulting. And that often is not the case. It's the opposite, because again, you accidentally break rapport and don't realize it. So what I tell our clients to do, who are PhDs, but you've also worked very hard for it, and to call yourself doctor, high five. And if you want to show that off, God bless you, go for it, right? But what I would encourage, if the goal is to make money and to get a lot of clients, I would keep that news to myself and let them know that during the sales process, and it'll have way more impact in a positive, excellent way. They're like, wow, this guy's got a PhD, and like he's not even telling anybody, he's not running around there like a doctor, right? So anyways, and would you be better, rather than, like, let's assume it's going to take you 4 years to get it, right? Would you be better to find a problem and spend, the 2 to 4 years it's going to take you to get the MBA designation? Would you be better finding a problem and then learning how to solve it over those 4 years? How would you end up in a stronger position? And like we've said on the podcast at different times, before I went and sent my daughter to business school, I'd spend 50 grand buying her a cafe and let her run it. And if she ran it into the ground, I'd be lighting 50 grand on fire. But you know what? The lessons that she would learn, it's not like it's just going to go belly up in day 3, right? It's going to be a 1 to 3 year commitment, and what she would learn, behind the counter and servicing the clients, and, managing the books and doing reconciliation and managing staff and hiring staff and firing staff, etc. Just those life lessons are just worth it times a million, right? So, and again, you can become like my daughter, she could become a borderline expert in cafes in like 90 days of intense, learning. I mean, I wouldn't throw her to the wolves and just say, hey, good luck, go learn it. Like the thing is, people look for a business coach once they get into trouble. You ever notice that? You go looking for help once there's a challenge, the same way that you go to the doctor when you're sick. Pretty good idea to go to the doctor when you're not sick to say, look, could you have a look at my, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, etc., while you're doing good, and then manage that, as opposed to go when you're not feeling well. This is when you can get into a little bit of trouble, right? So doing education before they start would make sense, but you got to be committed times 10, and it's always don't do your best to do what it takes. And what I'm talking about there is, becoming an expert in 90 days, but being obsessed is a superpower. And something I don't know, versus, as in become obsessed with solving a problem, as opposed to be obsessed with getting an MBA that's going to cost you X. And I don't think anybody really cares. So that's but you know what? I've been wrong before. And for you, maybe it's something you really need, right? So, but look, we're going to assume like this is a business coach, right? Listening to us, it's business coach. So if I was looking to jack it up and then you came to me and said, look, I'm looking at the end of the day, my goal is to be wealthy long term. And my goal is to make a great income, say 250 grand, while only having to work, 40 to 50 hours a week, but not doing the 70 to 80. I'm not really interested in that. I'd be willing to do that for a short period of time. But ultimately, I want to be able to make 250 grand working 40 to 50 hours a week, calling my own shots, having a holiday when I want, and not having a boss to tell me what to do. And planes, trains, automobiles, and traffic jams and parking in the city is not something, commuting to and from work is something that I don't want, right? So I would say this to you. Here's how you crush it as a business coach, right? Just like solving a problem is where I'm going. Like pick a niche, right? Mobile service-based business owners in Kelowna, right? When you're thinking about your niche, think of these three words: experience, expertise, and passion. What are you experienced in? What's your expertise in? And then what's your passion? Passion's number 3 intentionally. Every billionaire will tell you to do what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. The problem is it's really bad advice for most people, because what you're passionate about, once you start doing it as an occupation, you hate it really quickly. I used to own a hockey rink and I love hockey. And let me tell you, I was sick to freaking death of putting on those skates and walking into that joint for sure. So passion, but what you should do. So if you say to me, okay, that's the problem, what's the solution? Instead of doing what you love, do what you're good at. If you want to make a ton of money, do things that you're good at, right? It's the same as an athlete. Like I played a lot of hockey in my day. I'm not a big guy. And defense is for big bruising guys generally, right? Protecting the goalie and running people over. So I may love defense, but I'm no bloody good at it. So it wouldn't have made sense for me to go and play defense. You know what I mean? But I loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the greatest defenseman ever. And maybe I could push through, but the law of averages do play in, and do things that you're good at, right? Same with sports. Like I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and she's not the biggest kid in the world. And like, playing tennis, if she loved tennis, I would take her to play tennis every day. But if she asked me, Dad, what's the best sport for me, I'm going, she does gymnastics, she does trampolining, she does parkour, she loves that. She's got a wicked arm on her, so I'm telling her softball is something I'd like to get her into. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you going to be good at? I think that's important, right? Experience, expertise, passion. And then I'd go survey those people for problems, right? So what did I say? Mobile service-based business owners in Kelowna. Go survey those guys for problems, right? That's what are the biggest problems that you have? What are the biggest challenges? You could, just call them and saying you're doing something, a dissertation, or you're doing XYZ for school, and you'd like to ask them some questions about their industry. They'll just tell you straight up. And you will find that you'll be able to throw a blanket often over the problems. So therefore, you just go solve that problem. You're going to have yourself a, crushing business. And then measure the size of the problem, right? Like, are they willing to pay for that problem, right? And then I would go to learn the steps to solve the problem, right? That would be the next thing. Now that I've identified it, I've worked it out that they're going to pay to solve that problem. I go, what's the 1 through 3, the 1 through 5, the 1 through 10 of solving that problem? And then I would go and sell the solution. Again, before I went and started the business and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, go see if someone will buy it from you. True story. I was in Australia, and I was coming to Canada with my business coaching, and I picked up the phone like at midnight in Australia, and I was calling Canada, inviting people to a live event at the local, chamber of commerce or whatever, because I wanted to get a bit of a feel for if people were going to say yes and were they interested in the solution and what I had to say. Right. So that was something that I did before. Like, I went and sold the solution before I jumped on the plane and said, hey, I'm going to go set up something in North America. And then, by the way, next you get better at it and better at it. Just, be completely obsessed with solving that problem. Think big. What I said earlier about trivial, don't go to the trivial crap. Don't play on the edges. Go to the big rocks, the big, big, big rocks. Solve those, and you're going to build yourself a crushing business. And then next, recruit talented people to join your team and build your biz. Because again, your greatest successes will come through other people. The end. Drop the mic. That is official. When we were in Cancun at Business Coaching Master, I asked the coaches, I said, so who's ever heard, that you should hire people smarter than you? And of course, all the hands went up. And then I said, okay, put up your hand if you have people employed by you that are smarter than you. And guess what? Not very many hands went up, right? That is critical. Me, I don't have that problem. I surround myself with people much smarter than I, and that's not that challenging to do, unfortunately for me. But anyway, so recruit very talented people. So I don't know. That's kind of like pick a niche, identify what that, experience, expertise, passion. Get on the phone, send out email surveys, do the ask method, survey them for problems. Measure the size of that problem. Like, in other words, are they going to be willing to pay? Are they willing to whip out their credit card for it? Then I would learn the steps to solve that problem and make sure that problem is a big boulder and not a little pebble around the peripheral. Go sell that bad boy before you go and spend a crazy amount of money. Just go sell it. If one person's going to buy it, like people do like Facebook campaigns, and it's like, before you've sold something organically, don't go and buy Facebook ads. You crazy, right? Like, think of the intelligence of that, right? And then get better at it by being obsessed with it. Just a little. If you got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better every day. What's the thing, Road Dog, where you take a penny and you double it every day? On day 30, like, first of all, I say, do you want $100,000 or do you want a penny? And I'll double it every day for 30 days. Of course, everybody takes 100,000. And then what happens when you double a penny for 30 days? It becomes like I don't know what it is, but it's like 5 or 10 million. I think day 31 might be 10 and day 30 might be 5 million. But at the end of the day, it's that compounding interest. Well, compounding expertise, compounding experience, compounding passion for the problem. You get better and better and better and better and better at it. That's why I'm good at what I do. I've done it literally for I'm coming on 2 decades doing business coaching and consulting and helping business owners. Never done anything different. Like, how could I not be good at it by now, right? So just get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. In 30 days time, you won't recognize yourself. In 1 year, you're a completely different operator, provided you follow that. And Road Dog, we both know most people won't. You try to do massive swings and hit home runs on Tuesday, and then it doesn't work. And then you wait until two Thursdays from then to try anything new. Just every day a little bit better. And then, of course, the last one was recruit talented people, to join your team and start building your biz. So Road Dog, the answer is probably not. But I would, again, what do you want? If you really, really want an MBA and that was like your mother's dream for you, or your dream or your dad's dream for you, then you might have a different answer. But if the goal is to become wealthy and to make a lot of money and to keep that money, I would be thinking about what I just outlined as a process. So what do you think, Shoots?
Keep swinging singles, bud. And by the way, it's 5,368,709 and 12 cents.
Nice. Thank you.
And
is that day 30? Is that day 30?
That's day 30. Here you go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Day 27. You know where you're at day 27? You're at 5.3, right? Million at day 30. Day 27, you're at $671,000.
That's it. 300,000 the day before, 150 the day before, and 75,000 the day before that. So again, those last 5 to 7 days are where all the profits are. That's what most people won't do.
And I have to say this. I don't know why the hell I'm plugging Elon Musk so much today. Now you're going to start making fun of me. It's funny. You talk about titles.
Yeah.
You talk about titles. You know that he changed his title last year, right? Legally, he changed it from CEO to Techno King.
Did he?
He did. That was actually back in March. But yeah, no, he changed it because he just thinks titles are an absolute joke. And he legally changed his title from CEO to Techno King. Google it. It's hilarious. So there you go. So do you need a title? Just make it up. Like Techno King. That's amazing. So there you go.
And everybody, Road Dogg has a man crush. You heard it here first.
There it is.
Him and Elon Musk sitting in a tree. I can see it now.
The funny thing is, it's only been lately. I was never a big Elon guy, but lately, just the stuff that he's saying, I'm like, man, I know in your eyes he's no Tom Brady, but we got to make do, I guess. So there you are. And by the way, you talked about your height and body composition for playing professional hockey. You must have looked up to Cliff Ronning, I'm guessing, right? Like Cliff must have been one of your favorites growing up.
Theo Fleury shoots all the way. All the way. There you
Should have guessed.
The Hall of Fame. You heard it here first, folks. Theo Fleury for the Hall of Fame. You guys kidding me? What a joke.
The guy is a legend. I'll give you that. So, anyways, all right. You want to close us out with your one thing? What's one thing that they can pull from today's episode and start implementing to their business?
Well, I think the obvious tax, right? You got to just to not spend to sell lingerie in the kitchen, right? Makes no sense at all. Got to go to that one. But really, it's just so important. Just understanding you can get lucky and make it. You can't get lucky and keep it, right? You got to go there. So that's everybody drilling down in 2022 on understanding how to keep it as opposed to just make it. And Road Dogg, when you buy something for 333 worth 1,000, like my mentor and I are working on something right now that's just so cool. And it's like this, right? But it's totally different, but exactly the same. He just undervalued. That's where he goes, right? Like undervalued assets. So if you buy something for 333 and it's worth 1,000, you didn't spend 333. You just tripled your money. And you paid tax on 333, not the 1,000. And again, Road Dogg, it's by 1,000 cuts. So as somebody's listening, it's like, I don't. It's like your client's a hair salon, and they're buying shampoo, conditioner, gel, wax, all that stuff. They've got the option, like they're probably buying from 5 different suppliers. Instead of doing that, what they should do is drill down on one. Who's the best? Who do they like the best? Who's got the best products? Buy from that person. Buy in bulk. Show loyalty, and then what happens is you'll get bulk discounts. You end up getting lots of seconds and samples and that sort of stuff that, again, you can sell if you so choose. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they should. I don't know. But you get a lot of product that you can sell for free when you show loyalty and build a relationship like that. And then also when you get your invoice, if you pay up front, they'll offer you like a 2.5 to 7% discount, right? Well, depends upon your cash flow situation, but lay down the money right here, right then. Lay down that cash, because that savings is just like it sounds small. It's not 2.57. Remember, if you have something, remember the Warren Buffett, I want to buy it for a penny, sell it for $1 and have it be habit forming. Well, when you buy something for a penny and sell it for $1, you got 99% margins there. When you buy the same thing for 10 cents and sell it for $1, there's not like a 9% gap or a 9-cent gap. It's 10 times more profitable to buy the thing for a cent than it is to buy the thing for 10 cents, right? 10 times more profitable. So business owners aren't thinking. So it's not a 2.5% discount. It's a massive improvement in profitability. Remember, 2 to 3% is a 50% increase, not 1. 20 to 30 is a 50% increase, not 10. So a wealth hack, going down a rabbit hole here, but a wealth hack is to teach yourself to think in percentages. And I'm not good at math in any way, shape, or form, folks, right? So I'm the guy, I'm not good at math, right? But it's not an excuse. I don't need to be good at math when it becomes a framework and it becomes a little bit of common sense and an automatic framework that I automatically go to. This is the needle. You don't need to be good at math. You're carrying a phone right now. You're probably listening to us on a phone. It's got a calculator. You're 1 centimeter from a calculator, right? So a wealth hack is thinking in percentages, and then as you do it, think, day 1 to day 30 becomes 5 million, and then becomes 10 million on day 31. Thinking about that, as you think in percentages, it'll compound and compound and compound, and in 30 days and 90 days and 6 months and 12 months, you'll be doing it naturally. Right. So anyways, Road Dog, there you go. That's my last bit of advice for today, bud.
Love it. Love it. By the way, you talk of, first off, I got to say your best friend ever was when you get a bill and they actually have the tip percentages written down for you so that you didn't have to calculate yourself. Like, let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
The amount of relief on your face when it's like, oh, I don't have to do math. Perfect.
You're not wrong, buddy.
But the other wealth hack, real quick, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but you'd mentioned, buying a place for $350, it's worth $450, pulling the 100. It's like infinite banking, right? It's the same sort of deal where you overfund certain insurance policies and then you're able to borrow the money tax free out of it. And sometimes the interest that you pay is now becoming tax deductible because it's right? Like it's just,
Yep.
Right? So many of these beautiful things. But anyways, so there you go, being smart with it. Listen, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, the king himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. And of course, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that all the streaming services give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. That is it for another week, folks. Remember, progress equals happiness. We'll see you in the next episode.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.